All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back here talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Big game against the Browns this week and on Sunday. Now, they've won 4 straight games since that loss, right? But since even starting 0-2, the Bengals offense is firing on all cylinders. The defense is firing on all cylinders. Getting guys like DJ Reader back, these are absolutely critical to long-term success for this season, I should say, like Super Bowl, getting back to the Super Bowl and winning it. Now, since starting 0-2, the Bengals offense has an 83.8 PFF grade, which is good for 3rd in the league. 91 passing grade, good for 1st in the league. 82 receiving grade, good for 3rd in the league. And 86.4 rushing grade, good for 10th in the league. So, Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon's back. All right, that's big, that's important. Joe Mixon is back this week. It's kind of surprising Cincinnati is averaging, they're still getting triple digits a game, 100.9 yards per rush, or rushing yards per game, I should say, which is only good for 26th in the league, but they've unlocked a beast named Samaje Perine, and since week 11, he has 330 yards from scrimmage, which is 3rd among running backs, and he has 4 total touchdowns, which is good for 2nd among running backs. So not only do you have Jamar Chase back for this game against Cleveland because he missed the first game against Cleveland, but you have a fully healthy Mixon, who's coming back from concussion protocol, but you have like Samaje, and we talked about him in my last Bengals video. He's just reached a completely different level this year. And now you have undisputed top 3 running back duos, 1-2 punch duos in the National Football League. And I can't wait to see how the Bengals deploy these 2 cats, not only on Sunday against Cleveland in the revenge game, but just for the rest of the season. I mean, that could be the X factor. It could be the difference maker to getting back to the Super Bowl and hopefully for Cincinnati winning the Super Bowl. Now, when we look at this Bengals team, actually, before we get into this video, if you guys enjoy it, hit the like button, hit that sub button. Bengals fans, you guys have been absolutely awesome, blessing this channel. My first ever Bengals video got 1.3K likes. So let's try and get to 300 likes on today's video, but you guys are showing so much love. And I really like how under the radar this team is flying because they started 0-2. They were 2-3 after that loss to Baltimore on the road in early, October. This team defensively has been getting so much better, and they're without their number 1 cornerback. These young cats, the young DBs, Eli Apple's doing phenomenal. Like, they are severely underrated as a defensive unit, and as one of you guys pointed out in my last Bengals video, they're maybe like 5 or 6 plays away from being definitely top 10 in defense. So this is a really big deal, and they put in a lot of additions on the defensive line this past offseason, and it's paying off dividends. That loss to Cleveland on the road on Halloween, they lost 13-32. But that Bengals team is completely different than the Cincinnati Bengals we're seeing right now. They're locked in on defense. They're locked in on offense. You have Joe Burrow making a legitimate case for MVP. But more importantly, man, that win against Kansas City, they own Kansas City. They have their number, and the scariest part is that the NFL hasn't quite caught on to that. Is first off, they held Patrick Mahomes to 230 yards, which is by far his lowest on the season. They can stop the run. They held Derrick Henry the week before to just 2.2 yards per attempt on 17 attempts. They're just locked in. But offensively, you have an improving offensive line. From the start of the season to now, they have made so many improvements. Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league already at this young point in his career. So it's not like they're set up like the Rams where, all right, they missed out on the Super Bowl last year, but they have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl this year, and then, they don't have the depth, they don't have the money to sustain this. That's just completely flip-flopped. That is not the case in any way, shape, or form. This offense, to my surprise, is 7th in the NFL. Watching them. They're top 5, they're top 3. I think you could dispute. I guess they have dealt with injuries, and that's probably why. But, that Kansas City win is they made a bunch of mistakes. So the good news is there's still plenty of football to be played. In fact, you have 5 games left. One of the things I was talking about in my last Bengals video was possibly getting to that number 1 seed. And, to be honest with you guys, all I really want are victories over Cleveland, Buffalo, and Baltimore. Obviously, you want to finish the season off 5-0 win nine straight football games. But being realistic, I really want those divisional games because those divisional games are huge. And getting the last 2 weeks against Buffalo, who, a big AFC contender. I'm not sold on Buffalo. I love Josh Allen. They're a fun team to watch. Von Miller going down is a huge deal for them. I'm not necessarily sold on Buffalo this season. And Baltimore, that tough loss not too many months ago or not too many weeks ago early on in the season. Same thing kind of applies to them. I'm just not sold on either of those two football teams, but momentum's everything in football. So as long as they win the last 2 weeks of the season, I see no reason why they won't make it back to the Super Bowl. And to be honest with you, just in general, even if they didn't, I still see this team making it back to the Super Bowl. But offensively, it's awesome. And the Browns have the 22nd ranked run defense in the league. So I fully anticipate we're going to see a lot of Joe Mixon. I fully anticipate we're going to see a lot of P. Ryan. And like I said earlier on in the video, I'm really excited to see what those two cats look like together. But getting Jamar Chase is a huge deal. Getting Joe Burrow, just literally trending to an MVP is a huge deal. My point is this: they're clicking at the right time. And I know Cleveland has kind of had their number in the last couple of seasons. Last several games, in fact 5 straight games in this rivalry. But there's something different about Cincinnati. I know they were on this really quote-unquote special run last year, but this is a much more balanced team. They're just extremely balanced. As I was alluding to earlier on, and I talked about this in my last Bengals video, that game against Kansas City was not pretty. Like I said, you still have 5 weeks of football to start playing, close to perfect, if not perfect football. But the fact they're able to take down the number 1 seed in the AFC, Patrick Mahomes, to a lot of people before that game, now there are some question marks around it, but before that game, every single soul that talks football or watches football would agree with the fact that in the AFC, right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team to beat. Not only because they're the first seed, but Patrick Mahomes, MVP season, they have a newer and improved running attack, I suppose. Travis Kelce is a stud. The defense has improved since last year. I'm going to take Cincinnati every day of the week. So it just shows me a lot that you're able to start this season 0-2, 2-3 with some tough losses to teams like Cleveland, tough losses to a team like Baltimore, divisional games where they just really sting, and you're able to flip the script, get healthy as the weeks progress, and still find ways to win despite who you're missing. So one of the best offenses I've seen in a very long time. I think no one's really talking about it. And, to the Bengals, it actually really isn't that important if national media is talking about it. Yeah, getting some respect and love is nice, but I think they'll get the respect and love once we get into the playoffs and teams see the Bengals and they're like, oh shoot, the Bengals just won 13 games this season, and they're red hot and they're taking down teams like Buffalo and Kansas City and Tennessee. Who can they not beat? So that's it for today. And hit that like button, hit that sub button for more Bengals content. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts down below. What are you hoping for, realistically, for the Bengals to finish off this season out of 5 games?